All right, so welcome to Dad Mode. This is our first episode, so it's kind of rough. Excuse the graphics and the background and everything. Obviously, it's just going to be two dads. I'm the primary host. My name is John. This is Mike. He'll be today's co-host. Every once in a while, I'll try and have somebody else come in, give their perspective of things. What we're basically doing is trying to provide a outlet. If you have questions, you'll feel free to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever social media platform you can. And we're going to be building things uh, as we go to try and make things better for us. Right now, we're in a garage that's probably about 100 degrees in Georgia heat as it is, so it's kind of humid. Um,
It's just a little.
just a little bit. I forgot the fan. My bad.
That's all good.
So
Next episode.
uh, so this one's going to be a short episode. Make sure you hit me back and let me know what you think of it. Give me some ideas. This is just a rough go of things, but it's going to be quick recipes, tips and tricks that we've learned, advice, stories, um, questions that have been asked to us as dads, questions that we may have as dads, trying to work through everything. Um, I'm currently a law enforcement officer. I'm formerly a firefighter and formerly a paramedic. Mike is also a former paramedic on the streets. He's currently with Georgia Pacific. Is that correct?
I work for IP for one of the Savannah paper mills down here, but you know, still get some medical things in there, but really a lot more now advanced into OSHA and safety standards, along with being able to use the experiences right of that to gauge and make situations safer and better for other people.
So there you're going to get first responder answers. You're going to get dad answers. You're going to get safety answers. You're going to get all kinds of answers, and that's why I want to do this community or this not community. Is it a community?
It really is a community. I mean,
Yeah.
dads are a community, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do. We come together and we build community.
So, but that's why I want to get this going, so that way dads can see that other dads have the same questions and other dads are dealing with the same issues. And we're going to touch on touchy subjects like divorce, child custody. We're going to touch on subjects such as what do I do if I'm a single dad to a girl? I've been there, done that. It's not easy, but
Versus what are you gonna do if you're a single dad to a guy?
yeah,
You've never, and you're worried about raising a son, and you don't even know where you're going. You're saying, like I did. I question every single day. I have a little son, and he's gonna be 2, and every day I'm like, well, am I doing something right? Am I doing something wrong? Is there something that I could be doing better?
and the easiest way to learn that is: are they alive? Are they breathing? Do they have clothes on their back? And do they have shelter over their head? And are you there? So that's what we're going to touch on today is not just are you there, but are you actively present in their lives? And what I mean by that is you can still be a dad and be there every day, but if you're on your phone, if you're playing video games, if you're there but not really participating, you're not really being active. You're just present. And that's where the difference between being a active and present dad versus being a present dad. Um,
So then, do you think, going off of that, right? Do you think with that difference between a active present dad and an active dad, that we as a culture have moved into that, or do you think that that's kind of always been how dads kind of were, right? Because dads were always just, you know, when kids were being raised and growing up, they were really brought up by the moms, by the family and the community of that sense, while men were out hunting, gathering, and they were bringing back to the family until the kid was old enough, their son or daughter or whoever was old enough to go out with them. So do you think that's something that stems from a cultural slash generational thing, or do you think that us as now that Gen X, millennial, alpha, all of that movement forward, that we're kind of changing that script or that definition?
so, based off of that, I'm actually inclined to say that dads have had a bad rep because we were the primary care providers, the financial supporters, the hunters, the gatherers. It's not that moms, and I'm not taking anything away from moms, so don't think that I'm doing that. But it's that moms were always viewed because they were always home being the homemakers and everything, that they were always more equipped with taking care of the children. Um, I was a single father for 3 years. My dad was a single father, so I am actually gonna say that dads have always been like this, but it's becoming more of a thing now, and I guess more socially acceptable for dads to be um, viewed as a dad, not just a babysitter, because we're actually putting our foot forward and fighting for what's ours and what's right.
Mm.
Um, Dads aren't second class citizens, and we don't need to be treated as such. That's what I feel
Mm.
screws things up, and not just the dad's life, but child's a child needs their dad. Unless their dad is, the worst of the worst. Even if they're in and out of prison, they can teach them how to do the right thing versus doing the wrong thing, how to look down the right road versus looking down the wrong road, because they're going through those experiences. Um, my dad taught me how to hunt. My dad and my grandfather, both of them all taught me how to fish.
Mm.
You know, I had one that taught me how to play golf. I had one that taught me about computers. My dad taught me about cars and motorcycles.
Yeah.
So it's not. My dad also actually taught me how to cook. So it's not necessarily a generational gap that we're trying to bridge. It's a dads are finally being recognized as parents and not
Mhm.
just babysitters.
Right.
When people say, "Oh, do you mind babysitting, or are you babysitting? Are you watching your child?" No, this is my kid. I'm raising my kid.
Yeah.
I've been down there when I was a single parent. Oh, where's the mom? Why isn't she here? Well, because I've got custody. That
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
Um,
It's interesting you say that because we have another dad that my family down here is close with, and he now has two daughters, and two under two, and he's going through. He's building. He's moving his own, but he works in the tech industry. But he and his wife have to. I mean, collectively, they're both at home, even though he works from home and she kind of does what she does, right? But what he gives back to those kids is almost want to say it's almost incredible, right? He's there, he's present in their life. Even when he's working, they can still come in and they spend time with him. They learn. He's teaching them electronics. He's teaching them coding. He's teaching them, rights and wrongs. They're going out on weekends and going and doing fun things together as a family. But then, he's also even teaching like when other kids come over, right? So I've had time where he's watched my son for me, and his wife hadn't delivered their second child yet, so he was still watching two under two, but he looked at it as practice. And something he learned out of it was is that he needed to baby proof a lot more, and he figured out how to baby proof a lot of things that my son got into that his daughter didn't, and he went, oh, because his daughter was the one who climbed up everything. Well, my son doesn't want to climb up everything; he wants to pull on things. So, um, being present in that sense, like he was there. He was fathering another person's kid, and he was building and kind of showing that just that always there kind of mentality, and that's something that I've also noticed, even for me, right? Is that when I come in and I'm sitting here, and if I'm building dad tribes, if I'm building up a different company, or I'm doing schoolwork, or I'm doing work, for anything that I'm doing, I feel sometimes that disconnect when, even though I'm watching him and I'm being there and I'm doing things, it's sometimes I have to take a moment from him and say, hold on, I have to do something for work. And then after I'm done with doing something from work, and then, it's all right, everything goes to the side. We're not touching anything. This is our time to sit down. This is our time to play. This is our time to actually, learn speech. Here's the tools. Let's make sure we get our 3 meals in every day. Let's make sure we get in our nap in for the day. And that's when I try to plan, even for me, all my work is when he's in his nap. So then I don't feel like I'm losing that presence with him to the phone or to the TV or to, the computer. It's all, I do that when you're not around.
yeah.
When you are around, let's try learning. Let's try adapting and build from there.
And that's a good point. That's what I try to do with mine. I'm on my phone, whether it's work or trying to get the podcast up and going, or trying to keep communications going with you and everybody else that's reaching out to me, because it seems like everybody wants to call me at the most inopportune times. But it's, I've got as you can see, I'm somewhat of a handyman, not by any chance an expert in anything. I'm just kind of like a jack of all trades. I know a lot about a little, and a little bit about a lot. But as you know, when I'm out cutting the grass, I make sure my son is with me on the lawnmower because I do have a rod mower. So it only takes me a few minutes to cut it, and he's with me. He's spending time with me. I'm showing him, don't touch this. The steering wheel and how it works, and that's just quality time. Every time he hears it crank up, he runs to the door and he runs for me.
Right.
So that's just one of the things that I've been able to do with him whenever I'm having to get things done. Whenever he gets a little bit older, I'm going to take him hunting with me. I'm going to take him fishing with me. We're going to go camping. We're already working on golf and baseball and trying to get those swings, and the boy can throw. Oh my God. But as far back to our original topic though, being a present parent means that you're always there. Or you're there as much as you can be. Being an active and present parent means you're there and you're actively participating in their life. Doing the milestones. My youngest daughter's in 7th grade right now. She lives with her mom. She just got braces. Well, instead of having a picture taken and sent to me, I wanted to FaceTime her so I could see them. And, I'm not present, but I'm active. I'm like, oh, those are so cool. That's so great. What color are they? Because she was like, I'm going to get navy blue. And then she went with black. And I'm like, that's a really good choice. I like the black. It looks good.
Yeah. Kind of building up her confidence as well with it. Because, I know when I got braces when I was a kid, I hated them because I was always worried about how I was going to look. Right. And how, my friends were going to be, I was always then called brace face, or when I had glasses, I was 4 eyes. And, you get made fun of, but that's a part of life, unfortunately. But it's one of those things where at least what she's looking for is some validation from you, and you're giving that back to her.
Right. And, just again, being active, I started thinking, well, what does every person need that has braces, besides a toothbrush and besides, special toothpaste and things like that. And I was like, she needs to be able to floss, but she can't floss past the brace. I was like, I'm going to get her a water pick. I went out and got her one of the water flossers. It's sitting inside. It came in today. She has no idea that it got here yet, but she's going to. And that is part of being active, taking an active response into everything that they've got going on in life. She's actually got tryouts for softball today. Right today? No, today's Monday, so it's tomorrow.
Okay.
So she's got softball tryouts for Tuesday, and because my oldest daughter played softball, she's already got the net to be able to play catch with herself. She's already got the stick, the hit stick that I can, or basically repeatedly throw the ball to her without having to chase it. And of course she's got me who can teach her how to hit. So and I'm going to teach her, if she makes the team, she's going to learn everything, but she'll be learning it from a baseball perspective versus the softball. So again, not taking anything away from softball, because I've played against softball players in high school just goofing around, and they are tough. The pitches are shorter distance, and it comes in at a weird angle. You got to choke up on that bat. So, but just like with hitting and hitting coaches, you teach the kids if the pitcher is faster than you are, you choke up on that bat and gives you a little bit more articulation so you can swing that bat a little bit better, maybe get some contact. And that's just some of the things that I'm going to be teaching her. So I'm trying to stay active and present in her life. I'm not just going to be present and sitting on the couch while she does whatever she does. I'm not going to be present and playing video games while she's asking me to go outside and play catch. No, I'm going to go outside and play catch.
Now, do you find, because you have a different experience than I do, right? I just have a son. You're raising not only a son, but you've also raised plenty of girls. Do you find that active and present parenting is different between having daughters and a son, even though your son's still young? But it's two completely different trains of thoughts and everything.
It's two completely different trains of thoughts. So with girls, you got to be a little bit more comforting. You got to kind of be a little bit softer. Because my oldest daughter, I raised her like I would a son.
Mm-hmm.
She's a little bit rough around the edges. I feel bad for any boy that wants to date her because
Okay. Okay.
she's already being told that she's intimidating and she's scary, and it's because she's another version of me,
Mm-hmm.
but in the female form.
Right.
My youngest daughter, on the other hand, she's a little bit softer. She's a little bit not quite as outspoken, not quite as confident, but she's still got that same mentality of I'm gonna do
Mm-hmm.
something if you don't back off, kind of thing. My son, on the other hand, that's a big ball of destruction. You can't take your eyes off of him for nothing because if you take your eyes off him, he's standing up on the dining room table and that thing's like 4 feet off the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with him, you got to be a little bit more observant as to what he's doing, what he's getting into. With my girls, because I was able to talk to them and everything, and they pretty much stuck to my side whenever they were growing up, and they were his age, so they didn't want to go too far. But I've got a video of Skylar, my youngest, when she was sitting in my Jeep that I had. It was a 6-speed manual. She's going, "I'm gonna drive like this," and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Okay." And my oldest, she actually had a Jeep, so I taught her how to drive stick shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then she decided that she didn't want it, and now she's got a automatic little car, and now she wants a Jeep again. I'm like, I told you not to let me get rid of it, but she didn't listen. So
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things where boys, you need to pay attention to what they're doing
Mm.
and what they're getting into because they do a lot of crazy things.
Yeah. So being present with them and active is significantly different
Oh yeah,
with what they need.
you have to be active with them
Mm.
because you have to actively watch what they're doing. You have to actually engage and see the things that they're getting into. If they're like, we had to put a lock on our stove because he was standing up on the bottom rail and then
Mhm.
pulling on the stove. I'm like, no, that's
Yep.
gonna burn you.
Yeah, Jackson was the same way, right? So for the longest period of time, he was always sitting there going, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna play with the little doors," and I put the baby-proof door cabinets on. But then I couldn't. The angle you can't get in to do the small little cutlery drawers with other stuff that you have in there. So I was like, "Well, these are gonna be open, and it's just gonna work how it works." So he started pulling on. When he realized it's the same height as the oven door handle, he's sitting there and he starts tapping on the glass, he's banging on the glass with his toys, and I keep telling him, stop, you're going to end up breaking the glass, or eventually you're going to learn that you're going to put your hand up top, and when you do that, now you're going to burn yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't need you to learn that fact. So I started learning to teach him how to stop pulling on that as much. Well, then that just turned over to the fridge. Then I got my back. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make you a meal. I'm gonna do whatever we're doing. And next thing you know, I get these cold breezes across my body, and I turn around, and he's standing there like, hey, the doors are open, the freaking freezer's pulled open, and I go, dude, what are you doing?
That's one of the good things about my fridge is it's got little sensors that'll crack it. He hasn't found out where the sensor is, and then you can actually reach into the middle of the fridge and open it manually without that sensor. So he hasn't figured that one out yet. So we're good.
Oh, see, yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that luxury. I have the two doors that you can just pull. But what he does do very well is if the doors are open and I pull out something he wants and he knows it's what I want, like if he wants a couple ounces of milk, and I pull out the milk, he goes and boom, slams the door shut because he got what he wants. He's like, I know that, and
JJ will sit there and point to what he wants. He will not tell you what he wants yet, but he will point to it, and he will try to grab it. He'll try to climb up, like, because our milk is in the fridge door, so he'll try and climb up the door to get to it, or he'll reach up and start tapping on it.
Right.
So,
and I think that is a big part of, again, tying this back to the whole being active and present, right? It's like you pick up on the things that your kids actually are doing and telling you and trying to communicate, right? Because I mean, for all those long periods of time, moms were always the one who were like, oh, where, dads would come home and be like, well, what are you doing? What do you want? Like, I don't understand. And mom's like, oh, he wants that. Oh, he wants that. Oh, he needs that. Oh, go over there and grab that. And dads were always like, well, I know, right? But I don't know, right? So there's a difference of being active versus active and present, or present versus active and present, I should say. So being able to do that and learn what your kids want and learn what they're saying versus what they're pointing to versus what they're bringing you might mean something different than what they actually want, but that's the closest thing they have to them, so they're bringing it to you, being able to learn that, pick up on that. You know, talk about sign language. My son will do done. He'll do, you know, more. He'll do all these different things to try and tell me when he wants to do something. If he wants to play ball, he yells ball, goes and picks up a ball, looks at me, and throws it at me. And I look at him, I go, well, okay, now we take it and we're going to play with it. But he hasn't learned to actually grab it when it gets thrown at him and to catch it. So what he ends up doing is he ends up just laughing hysterically while it passes him by and then goes, all right, now I got to go get it. And then he brings it to you.
And JJ is the same way. We sit there, we'll play ball and we'll play catch and everything. And, well, I say we play catch. We don't play catch. We play fetch. So I'll throw the ball and he'll laugh. He'll run, go grab it, bring it back to me. And then I'll throw the ball and he'll go get it, come back. I'm like, is it wrong that I'm playing fetch with my son better than I am my dogs? Because they just run after it, smell it, and then they're like, whatever, and leave it there. So, but no, being active and present, especially with the boy, is gonna, as a father, it's going to build that lifestyle that, because my brothers, they lived with my mom. I lived with my dad. You know, they had their lives, I had mine. Got 3 certifications, and one of them unfortunately passed away in a drunk tow truck accident. Tow truck driver pulled out in front of him, and the tow truck driver was actually drinking. So I can't compare anything to that one. But my other brother, he's, you know, now that he's got his life figured out and got his life situated, it took him a lot longer than it took me. But he didn't have the same experiences I had.
Right.
He didn't have the same guidance I did. He's now, I think he's a longshoreman or a shrimper or something like that now. I don't talk to him anymore because we've just gone
separate ways.
Completely separate ways.
Yeah.
So the dad being active and present, not just doing his own thing, is definitely a big part of it.
Yeah, my grandfather was the kind of present one in my life. My dad kind of, you know, he, I guess in his eyes, he thought he was doing well. He thought he was doing right by me, or he thought he was doing the right thing. But he was never there. Like, even though he thought he might have been doing it, he wasn't physically there. Whereas growing up as a boy, you know, I was kind of looking towards that and looking to, you know, almost idolized to say, okay, this is what my dad does, this is what he's done, this is blah, blah, blah. And now I'm going to, you know, kind of follow in those footsteps, right? With my grandfather, though, my grandfather was that father-style figure for a while until my stepfather came into the picture. And then he was the one who got me into guns, and outside more so than just the Army, but he got me, you know, really into a lot of that. But my grandfather was that father figure. He was not only present, but he was active in everything I was doing. When I graduated basic training, he showed up. He was there for, you know, he was there for my weekends. He was there for, you know, whatever I had that I needed. Somebody. Not only was my mother there, and, you know, my, you know, other parents and families there. The only time I didn't have family, though, before, it was a little odd for me at least, was when I graduated basic, like completely graduated basic, and we were doing the pinning ceremony. It was right after all of my family had recently left, so nobody actually showed up. So I'm one of the few guys that's just standing there at attention, waiting to be pinned for my, you know, to put my blue cord on me, to pin all my stuff for the infantry. And I'm like, there's nobody here. And, you know, it when you complete something like that in your life, you get that, like, I want that presence. I want somebody who's there with you. And unfortunately, schedules just didn't align that way. So my drill instructors were the ones who took over, and that presence and that, you know, that family-like experience. But in, you know, having that, I always knew that at the end of the day, my grandfather was there. He taught me his version of politics, you know, from the 1940s, his version of growing up through politics. You know, he taught me his version of being a father. I mean, he raised 5 boys and 1 girl. So, and 2 of the sets of boys are identical twins. My father's one of the sets of identical twins. So, you know, he had his fair share in a rope. Now, granted, my grandmother growing up through the 40s, 50s, she kind of took that home care role, but he was still a part of it. He taught that dedication, and that, you know, you do have to work. you do have to put yourself through school. He put himself from being working on a farm. He was like, hey, I'm going to put myself through school. He got his own degrees. He opened up his own business. And then he said, now I can be here.
Yeah.
I can build.
And see, you touched on grandparents. Grandparents are a phenomenal resource when it comes to your life. My grandmother, both of my grandmothers, but my grandmother on my mom's side, she's, you know her. She's a paramedic instructor, been one forever, one of the best in the state, if not the country. And I'm not even being biased. That's, you ask anybody around here that knows her, and they'll tell you that. But she played a phenomenal role in my life. And her late husband, my grandfather, um, he played the active grandparent in my life. You know, he was always at my baseball games. He was the assistant coach, keeping up with the RBIs and the stats and who's doing what and scores and
basically teaching you, but coaching you through it.
right. And you know, he was the one that was taking me, you know, on trips to Six Flags, Disney World, cruises. You know, getting me out of the house. So I had opportunities that my dad couldn't afford to have. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to have those, but grandparents in general, they help out and they give life lessons that you may not be able to give as a parent because you haven't gone through certain aspects of life that they have, or you haven't gone through them yet. And then my grandfather, my dad's dad, you know, he was, whenever I was over there, he was active, he was present, but he was one of the working men, you know, from the 50s and 60s.
Right.
He did, you know, 22 years in the Air Force.
Gotcha.
He went to Korea. I think he was in Vietnam for the first 2 years of it. He retired after he retired from the military, he went and worked the post office. And so he was a postal worker for another 20 plus years. And he retired from that. And, you know, from then on, it was golf and baseball. And I distinctly remember they had a 4-bedroom house, and one of the bedrooms was dedicated to him and him alone. It had a recliner in it. It had a mini fridge in it. It had all his hats, because normally I'm wearing a hat, but I'm not right now. But all his hats were hung up on a wall, and he'd just grab one and take it, and that'd be the hat that he wore for the day. But he would do fish tanks. So everything I know about fish tanks, I learned from him. Everything I learned about fish care, I learned from him.
Right.
Everything I learned about golf, up until he passed away, I learned it from him.
Yeah.
You know, he got me into playing baseball. My other grandfather was there while I was playing baseball. I mean, my dad's dad, my paternal grandfather, he was a little bit older, so he wasn't able to get out and come to my games as much. And then, you know, my paternal grandmother, she was that typical crazy grandma, you know, the one that every family's got, or every family should have, where, you know, she decorated for Halloween, she decorated for Christmas, and when she did it, it was like Christmas just threw up everywhere. So, and that's where I get my Christmas style from, is it's got to be Christmas starting November 1st. Poof, everything, ho, ho, ho. You take one day off for Thanksgiving, and the rest of the time it's Christmas again. So
yeah, exactly. And our home's the same way. It's after, you know, the only holiday that I don't do is Halloween, and that's because that's the missus. She wants, that's her thing, and I'm like, you run with it, hon. I let you do that. Christmas though, that was always my holiday. I would go out, I'd buy all the lights, I'd string them up on the house. Now being down in Georgia, I don't have gutters, so I got to figure out how I'm going to do my lights in my house. I'm going to have to start getting up there, and I need to get a bigger ladder because my ladder only goes up to 12 and a half feet. I got to get 32 feet in the air. I'm like, I don't like the peak anymore, you know, and roofers, granted, they have all those long, big ladders so they can get up everywhere they need to get. I don't have that access.
you just need a 25-foot ladder and
just stand and reach the rest of the way, right? You know?
Yeah. Well, you're shorter than I am too. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I got 2 Christmas trees behind you. You can look over there, and I got Christmas decorations. So.
That is true. There's plenty of Christmas here. It's almost like it threw up in here, but nowhere near. Maybe like mild food poisoning.
But yeah, no, I got more out in the shed that's in the backyard too, and it's. But back to what I was saying, you know, it's the traditions and the styles and stuff that you get. You know, as long as you're active, and you're participating, your kids are going to grow up knowing that you loved them, you cared about them, and that you were there. Versus, in my opinion, you just being present is like, oh yeah, my dad was there, but we really didn't do anything. I've got tons of stories about me and my dad. Just because he was so active in my life.
Right.
And even though others may not have seen him being active in my life, it's those things that I saw that made me active. Those are the memories that I have. So those core memories, and that's one of the things that you're going to have to research on your own, because core memories, that's just something that sticks with you forever. I can remember the first time I sat in a deer stand by myself. I had a fireball, and my dad thought I was choking on it. So he climbed out of his stand, ran to me, and then climbed up and started patting me on the back, trying to get it out. Got it out, and it was good. I remember the first time I went mud bogging. I was standing in the back of a 1992 Nissan hardbody. It was like a purplish blue on top and a turquoise blue on the bottom.
Oh, what a statement.
And it had 33s, and, we were going through Effingham, a hunting club that we had off of Sandhill. And, that was my first time experiencing something like that. And I've always liked going off-road and mud bogging now,
Right.
My dad used to play slow pitch softball. I love playing slow pitch softball. I mean, it's freaking fun.
Yeah.
Just sitting there waiting on it. It's called beer ball now, because after everybody got finished playing the game, they'd go out to the parking lot and drink beer.
Get beer, right.
But nowadays you can't drink as much, because back then they were a little bit laxer on the DUI status. So I'm like, I'm glad we are in a little bit safer time frame now.
Right. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, that can almost, that's a whole other story for another day, but you can almost correlate back to, kids back in the day had a lot more fun, right?
Yeah.
Where even with me growing up, and I grew up in New Jersey, but even growing up in New Jersey, I had stuff I could do. I could go outside and do things. Down here, there's not much for kids to do in this area, and it only seems to be getting worse, unfortunately, because this is now becoming industrialized. So then it's like, and that'll be another topic for another day. It's fun you can do with your kids, and actually things to make you give them those same experiences as time goes on.
And it's also going to be part of that subject, building off what Mike said, is you can get with other dads in your area and do things. Reach out. He mentioned earlier dad tribes. That's a community that he is building here in Georgia, but it started with Lone Star dads or Lone Star tribes.
Lone Star dads in Texas.
Yeah.
It started all on it. It actually started on a guy's freaking kitchen table. He was just sitting there, and he said, I don't want to work for my family. I want to be able to work with my family. And
building that community, just the short amount of time that Mike has gotten that started, the little bit of time that I've been a part, helping him as much as I can, we've grown from a couple hundred to 1,000, a little over 1,000.
We're almost at 1,200. We started with 25, and now in 4 months we're at 1,200.
So I mean, and I'm not as active as I would like to be, but it's just that's something that he's building. So there are other dads out there that are sitting there like, I wish I had more friends. I don't want to be alone all the time. I don't want to be stuck in the house by myself all the time. I mean, there are some dads that are like, I'd rather be by myself because I can't trust anybody. But once you reach out to other dads and you realize that, hey, other dads have that same mindset. Let's go hang out with that dad.
Yeah.
Let's go see what that dad thinks about sitting at home and, whenever I got a chance by myself, not doing anything. What can we do? So for future episodes, we're going to do packaging steaks, pre-seasoned and marinated. We're going to do smokers. We're going to do a couple golf episodes. We might try and get a baseball episode going. Might try and get a football episode going. Get some stuff on basic skills that some dads may not know. I understand that a lot of newer dads may not know how to change their own oil. I understand that a lot of newer dads may not know how to change their own tire.
Or their brakes.
Or their brakes.
Learning how to change your brakes is critical, especially if you're at that point where, you may like research it on YouTube. Okay, well, if you research it on YouTube, that could be the greatest thing in the world, but you don't know who you're talking to. At least here, you're talking to a dad.
Yeah, and somebody, and I'm not a professional by any means of the words. My dad taught me, so I don't particularly like doing brakes, but I can give you a walkthrough and show you bits and pieces and parts and what you need to do in order to take them off and put them back on and change out the pads.
And those are experiences where most likely we'll end up doing them probably with our kids involved, so that you know it's not just us showing you how to do it, or one of us showing you how to do it. It's, hey, this is something that your kids can learn to do too, that you should be teaching your kids if you haven't already, at once they hit a certain age, right? Because
Yeah.
once your kid starts driving, they should really know how to check their own oil, change their own oil, change a tire, and if they need to, know how to troubleshoot their brakes with a problem.
Yeah, and they also need to know how to change their own air filter, cabin air filter, and intake filter as well. Because a lot of people don't even know that they have a cabin air filter until you take it to a shop and they pull it out and find a dead bird.
Wondering why your car smells like crap.
My situation was I knew I had a cabin air filter. I had just got the vehicle, took it in for service, and I was wondering why my kids were constantly sick. They pulled out my cabin air filter, and there was literally a dead bird carcass in it.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So
it explains so much.
Yeah, it does, because after we changed it out, they never got sick again.
See, and there you go. And it should be changed out pretty frequently. I mean, every couple years, if to be checked on. Now, see, I say to be checked on because I check on mine once a year, and that's me.
I check on mine every 6 months, but I also do a lot of back road riding where there's dirt and stuff.
I
so
don't do all that.
They should honestly be changed, not checked, but changed every 2 oil changes, and that's per the manufacturer's recommendations. Your intake filters, if you've got a standard filter that you can buy for like $10, that needs to be changed probably 2-3 times a year. But if you've got a K&N filter, every 50,000 miles or so, you need to pull it out, clean it, put it back in.
Yeah, see, my truck, even for me, I go maybe 6 months to a year before I have to do an oil change, because I don't do as much driving around as with it at times, and I'm sitting there going, also mine's a lease, so I'm terrible about that. If I have a lease, every 10,000 miles, it's not, the truck's going back to the company. Now, if I'm going to turn around and keep it, then like I used to have a finance every 3,000 miles. I was on it. I was like, nope, I don't care how much oil life is left. I had the old square body Jeep Cherokee with the last year they made the V8 engine in it and all of that. And I said, I don't want to lose anything with that. So that became a constant check the tires, check the pressures, check the gauges. I had to charge my own AC because there was a leak in the system. The Freon kept going out every summer, and the things you learn, things that you unfortunately have to figure out if you don't have anybody to explain it to you.
And living down here in Georgia, you definitely need Freon for that AC, because my truck was doing the same thing, and I got tired of it, so it went bye-bye. But it's just, there are certain things in life that everybody should know. We're going to go over those certain things, and again, I'm going to be constant. Mike will be here primarily, I'm guessing.
I'll be here pretty frequently. I mean, the whole idea behind this, right? I mean, as we explained about, is that this is not just something that you can turn around and do a one and done kind of episode on, right? And you can't just be inactive with it. And it's this being active and present, and not just in family, but even something like this. There's going to be a couple co-hosts that come on through here with you, so everybody's going to kind of rotate. So there's equal changes, equal opinions, equal knowledges, but also that's what kind of keeps it real, right? I mean, you look at podcast people all the time. They show up on your TikTok. They show up on your Facebook. They the one that I love is Unsubscribed. I love the Fat Electrician and all of them.
Those guys are great.
But they're real. They're honest. This is you record this with a couple microphones sitting on a tablet, and you go, all right, this is real. This is raw. This is natural, and that's what is great about it.
The greatest part about the whole thing is our first episode, we had only said that we were going to do maybe a 10-15 minute introduction episode, and here we are at 40 minutes. So
right?
Just sitting here shooting a breeze. So we're going to wrap things up. Again, this is Dad Mode. We're going to be on YouTube. Snippets will be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Reels.
It's going to be all over. We're going to try and get it out. We're going to pump out weekly episodes. We're going to cover different things, different aspects of things, and we're also going to, like I said, we're going to cover, recipes, things that you can make quick and easy at home that actually taste good and your kids will love. We're going to cover, storing food. We're going to cover. We'll even do some firearm stuff. I'm not an instructor, so don't expect perfect. And for those of you that are instructors, if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me.
Yeah.
But it's mainly for gun safety because a lot of guys have guns, and a lot of them aren't stored properly, and a lot of them aren't being used properly. They're being carried, but they don't really have that draw time, that reaction time. They're just like, oh, this is going to keep me safe for that security. So I do recommend anybody that does have a firearm to go get properly trained on it. Again, I am not an instructor, so
And maintain it.
yes,
and make sure you're maintaining it.
absolutely.
If you're not doing drills, even dry fire drills once a month, and that's minimum once a month, you're doing a disservice for yourself.
And I have, because I'm in law enforcement, I have little accessories that I can use to dry fire in the house that'll show me exactly what I'm doing wrong. I'm not going to name drop anything because I can't do that at the moment, but if I had a sponsor, I would name drop, but I don't have those yet. So
I have some at home too for my Glock. I bought to do internal trainings, and I did it because I wanted that safety and that security to know that even if I can't get to the range that week, I could still do something at home. I could still practice my trigger squeeze. I could still see approximately, not obviously compensating for everything, but I could see approximately where that round might go. Or I could see, hey, how quickly am I able to draw, get on target, and do just a regular firing.
And
it works.
Practice always makes perfect. So we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
You guys have a great day, and remember, we are TAD mode. DAD mode. DADMODE.
And we'll see you soon.
All right, y'all have a good one.